Hey, this is Aaron Price, CEO of Tech United. I am very excited about today's guest. If you've been paying attention to the world, you've noticed that we've been talking a lot about non-fungible tokens, NFTs. I don't know a lot about them. I posted on LinkedIn. I'm an idiot on NFTs. Who should I talk to? And Heather and Rich became highly recommended. Very excited to have you both join us. They're the hosts of NFTs for Newbies, which I keep wanting to call NFTs for Dummies. I'm assuming there's a copyright issue there, but we're going to treat it more like NFTs for Dummies. But thank you both for joining us. Good to see you.
Super pumped. Thank you.
Rich, where are you actually physically located?
Physically in sunny and beautiful Wilmington, North Carolina right now. But I'm a Jersey guy originally, just so you know.
You don't have to be. We do hold it against you. I appreciate the Jersey connection, but the beauty of technology, we can do this anywhere. We just want to attract great people to the ecosystem wherever you are. Heather, how about you? Where are you?
I'm in Augusta, Georgia, originally from Arkansas, which is no better. So I'm a Southern girl through and through.
The other New Jerseys, I think they call them. So let's jump into we're going to do the very basics here, okay?
100%.
What is an NFT, and more so, why does it exist? Rich, I'll throw that one to you to start.
Yes, an NFT, the what it stands for is non-fungible token. I like to focus on the last part of that, which is a token. It can be a form of digital currency. It could be a form of digital art. It can be something that gets you admission to a conference like Gary Vee's conference. It could be a token that gets you a scholarship to an artist academy like one of our guests. So a token is what you need to think of it as. It's not fake, it's real. It is digital art, and it's just, obviously it was the most downloaded word in Google all of last year. Now the non-fungible part is where it kind of gets a little bit interesting, meaning it can't be replicated. Now, I have this poster right behind me. There could be tons of this poster. You could have one, Heather could have one, I could have one, my sister could have one, everyone could have them. We just know it's just a reprint. Non-fungible means it is non-duplicatable, essentially. The non-fungible token is unique, and what's unique about it is you actually have ownership of it. Like, you straight up own it. It is a one of one. And the reason that is possible is because of blockchain technology, which we can get in. But there's a ledger that anyone could scan and put in that NFT. If they're in my wallet or on a marketplace, they could click on that NFT and they could see who owns it. There's not multiple owners. It is just
okay.
me.
So let's dive into a few of those things, because there's a lot to unpack there. That's basically the show, right? What you just described is that's the show. So Heather,
Yes.
My mom is interested in this, right? But she has no idea what we're talking about. She's just like, I hear there's this cool thing. I've read about this Bored Ape thing. Like, what is going on in this world? And how could I participate? And I've got my mobile phone, and that's it. So, let's back that whole Rich description back a few steps, right?
Yep.
And I like that the tech world went with the most geeky term in non-fungible token to try to make this really get mass adoption. Yep. But so Heather, we'll use his poster as an example. How would that poster, if Rich actually was the creator, which I believe is required here, but you correct me if I'm wrong, please, how would that turn into an NFT?
Okay. So I think one of the misconceptions about NFTs is that they are always like a photo, right? It's something that you would print off and it's a JPEG. NFTs can really be anything. Digital. So it could be a video, it could be a meme, it could be an audio clip. We could take clips from this conversation and turn it into an NFT. What makes it an NFT, what makes it different than what people, sometimes the misconception is, I can just screenshot this. You can make multiple copies, is to what Rich just alluded to, was this idea of a smart contract, which essentially, when you put, to your question, when you put this digital piece, this photo, this meme, this video on the blockchain, which we can dig into that a little bit later, just know it goes into the blockchain, there can actually be data within that JPEG, within that video, that says, if this, then that. We call that a smart contract. There's a lot to this, and I'm dumbing it way, way, way down. But to that little red poster in the back, that little fish, if there was a contract in that JPEG, embedded in that JPEG, that says, if you own this, you get to go to this conference. We can actually see that inside of that data. And technically, you're supposed to abide by that, which we can get into that. There's not necessarily NFT police, which is a tricky thing, but that's essentially what it represents. I think
as a quick aside, though, just on that, because there's a lot of interesting ticketing happening based on that example you just mentioned. Is there practical technology that, let's say for VFriends, right, to get into his conference, that they can scan something that says, yep, this is it, this is Rich, so, you're in?
Yes. So what happens is what they call it a snapshot. So whoever minted it, whoever are the creators of that NFT, can actually take a snapshot of all the wallet addresses that are holders of it. And that's how they will confirm it. And they'll be able to scan it. So I'm sure there's technology, kind of just like anywhere, a barcode where you show up to a football game, they scan it and they know it's not been used or been used. So yes, snapshot is anyone who owns it, they will take all the wallet addresses and they will have them kind of on file, and that's how they'll verify.
Now, that's the fancy way of doing it, but there's a non-fancy way too. We talked to a coffee shop owner in Chicago who made NFTs for his community, and they go into the coffee shop, show their MetaMask wallet that they own that NFT, and they get a discount of coffee. So there's those ways too.
So we're going to go a little off script here, but not that there was much. But why? Let's go to that coffee. I'm curious of how this gets mass adoption and how people who aren't hardcore technologists or tied, very well into the NFT community, like I'm assuming the coffee shop example. So maybe we can unpack that a little bit. If you're a local coffee shop or retail environment, how can you create an NFT, mint it, and use it as a way to drive business?
Okay, the premise of NFTs right now, and the reason they're popular, is really this kind of sense of ownership, and that's just a Web3 concept, and Web3 we could unpack as well. But ownership is number one, and I would say followed very, very, very quickly by community building. So this coffee shop owner is trying to build a community who has an interest in some of this newer technology that he or she believes is going to get adopted. Again, I said it was the most downloaded term in Google. So when Heather and I think we were going to cover this, but I'm just going to do it really quickly. When we met in person for the first time in August, we were NFT holders, but we literally had no idea what we were doing. Like, why did we invest? We saw all the financial activity, we saw all the buzz, so we kind of got in. So the show was kind of conceptualized for us to learn on the go in front of everybody. So same thing here. Everyone's experimenting on how they could provide something unique and something different in terms of ownership that has assets. Just imagine a membership to a gym. Instead of paying them, and signing all these crazy things that says, I'm going to buy a gym membership for $4,000 and I know for the next 4 years I get personal training and all these crazy things. They're just trying to say, like, we're just going to use this digital art instead as a business function. Like, at that point, it has nothing to do with the art. Like, you could make ticket stub, but it's just people who are adopting the technology to see, as more people adopt, that they're going to use it. I mean, it's to me that simple. Heather, do you have anything different?
I think the little aha thing here is, let's think about what he said about ownership. Cool. That just sounds like a fancy membership. Why can't we do that, in the traditional way? The more that membership goes up, AKA we add value to that membership, we're dropping cool things and giving perks to these NFT holders, as, let's say, this coffee shop owner, that NFT's value goes up because other people are going to want it because it becomes more valuable. Why does that matter? When I sell my NFT to Rich because I leave Chicago and I don't need this NFT for this coffee shop anymore, and the owner of that coffee shop has poured so much value into being a holder, that price of that NFT goes up. Cool. But guess what, Aaron? If you are the coffee shop owner, you get secondary sales to that. So every time it's resold, you're making more money. So as the value goes up, not only is the owner winning, but the community is winning.
One last thing
on that. Go ahead, Rich. Yeah.
If Ethereum or the blockchain that it's on goes up, it's even better, right? I mean, so it's a win-win in a lot of ways.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, and please tell me if I'm not, because I might not be, there's intrinsic value in the benefit associated with the NFT itself, art or other digital thing, right? There may be some retail or real world benefit that has been attached to the digital
Yes.
piece, but it does not necessarily have to be. Am I good so far?
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay. So potentially there could be an offline increase in value. That coffee shop says, well, now we're going to give you 17 free coffees every day if you show up with that NFT, right?
Yep.
And there could be an online appreciation if Ethereum skyrockets because the actual cost, the trading price appreciated dramatically. Am I good so far?
100%.
Good so far. But they they aren't necessarily sold with on and offline benefits. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So maybe the Bored Ape Yacht Club has gotten lots and lots of attention. Can you give people who may have seen that or maybe are unaware just a little bit of background about that project?
Yeah, actually, I want to go with a sponsor of our show because it's very unique in the same light, and that sponsor is Deadheads. So this is Bored Ape Yacht Club, and it is a JPEG, and they caught fire. I mean, the first was really kind of CryptoPunks and Bored Apes. We're working with a NFT project called Deadheads, and like Bored Ape Yacht Club, what they're doing again, this is going to ownership. You are actually getting to the rights of the character that you purchased. That ape, that deadhead, that character, you can do whatever you want with it, to the point where one of the people we know who is a Deadhead owner is coming up with a comic book based off that character. Now, they can't use the Deadheads brand, and the Bored Ape Yacht Club holders cannot use Bored Ape Yacht Club, but they can name it. They can name it Aaron the Smuggler. I mean, who knows? Anything your imagination does, you can do. Now, do you have to do an animated series or a comic book? No. You can make stickers, you can make socks, you can make t-shirt, you can make swag, you can do anything you want. So again, it's like another layer of ownership. So they blew up so much, but the extra layer, kind of like Heather alluded to, like how much more can we do? Just like them and World of Women, for example, another great project. They're saying you are now the owner of the licensing rights of that character. So think about it. If you have 5 of them, you can literally start your own little South Park if you wanted to. So that's kind of how that exploded, is by being the first to kind of the market to give you more value than you could have actually realized in the beginning.
So to play a little devil's advocate on that last example, and I'm not sure who told you about my smuggling background, but we'll let that go. If I wanted to start my own little South Park, and if I was a graphic designer, why wouldn't I just design new characters? And who gives a shit about the NFT portion of this?
Because think about the built-in community around the project that you're buying into. So if I start building up a character around the apes or deadheads or whatever, there are thousands of people already who are aware of that character, that brand. And so there's like some built-in marketing right there. That's one reason.
It's like you're like, imagine being a Knicks fan and you have the rights, or a Nets fan and you have the rights to Kyrie, right? Or something like that, like marketing his stuff. Same thing. You want the Brooklyn Nets brand because they're popular, because KD's on there, because they're making a playoff run, but you can do whatever you want with that kind of identity. So yeah, like you said, how many people do you have that are going to uplift that community? Because there's about 20,000 Deadhead holders who want it to win long term. So they're going to support you. You're going to have the backing of the brand. And that's what I would say.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that also the most popular collections are the most expensive. So there's some tension there, going back to this make your own South Park show example of, your entry point, right? Like if you're latching onto a very expensive NFT with a strong community, it's gonna be much more expensive. Is that accurate?
Sometimes.
Yeah. I think there's exceptions to every rule, but I do, want to make room and space. Like there are NFTs out there and NFT projects that don't have a utility. And what we're talking about here is what they call utility. So if this, then that, there's a smart contract, there's something involved in that. There are projects out there who it's just, I want to own the NFT. And you'll hear that a lot the more you get into this space of like, oh, I just like the art, or, oh, I just wanted to have that. So there is room for that too. A lot of independent artists and stuff are using NFTs to sell their work. So there doesn't always have to be an attached utility to it. That doesn't always necessarily drive the price of it. Not always.
Yeah. One thing I would add is, I mean, it's obvious, I think, but if not, let me clarify. It's a very volatile market.
Yes.
It's completely unpredictable. Some of the biggest names, I think not Roy Jones. God, I cannot believe I even confused them. Floyd Mayweather came out with a project. It tanked, nothing. Like anyone believes they could just make an NFT project, but even some of the most well-known people on the planet have come out with projects that have completely flopped. Like, this is not just anyone is going to win, and this is not also, this is going to be an easy cash grab that I'm going to be able to flip this NFT. The longer term ones we see who are building value and accruing the community, kind of like what we talked about, those are just going to survive in the long game. But anyone else who's just trying to look at all the money circulating around NFTs and blockchain technology as a whole are probably going to be very sorely mistaken when they realize some of the losses that can happen.
Yep.
Yeah. You talked about I'm making up this term here, but the originator. You maybe tell me what the right word is there. But when this NFT gets resold, there's a potential income or fee associated with that. Can you explain a little bit more about how that works?
Yeah, I'll go. So there's this. So a lot of us know Gary Vee. There was this one panel he was on where he talked about how he made $240,000 last night from bed doing nothing. And it was because of the resale of his NFTs. Now, his are obviously selling in the 30,000s, I think is the lowest one right now. But he has a 5 or 10% royalty on all secondary sales in perpetuity. I mean, it is a massive win-win-win. So it's in his best interest as a person. Generally, he always wants to provide more value, but how many possible things can he do to increase the likelihood that this is going to be a long-standing project that only accrues value and doesn't lose value? And then obviously, as someone who wants to buy the New York Jets, if you're making $240,000 a night from transactions that you have nothing to do with, then you're going to freaking win. So like that royalty is important. However, one caveat, and maybe Heather, if you want to go into it, we've talked to plenty of communities who are actually using this for social impact, and we're a big fan of those. And we just had some of them on recently, if you want to hit that.
I do, but first I want to identify, before we get into the social impact piece, who dictates the royalty percentage?
So you set that up when you are building out your project. So there's two kind of main routes to putting up NFTs. They have like a thing called generative art, which are these really, really big projects. You need a developer to come in, and it's several $1,000s to get involved in that. So for, Gary Vee had, thousands of NFTs that went out. They're able to program those NFTs, all of those little features. So Gary gets X% or whatever. Let's just say you're the coffee shop guy who created 10 NFTs for his community. You can actually mint those, called lazy minting, on OpenSea secondary markets, where you actually physically go in. Rich and I've done it before, and upload a photo or a video, and then you just manually put in how much you want on secondary sales. So you can do that if you just have a very small project, but you're developers would help you set it up the back end if it was a generative art project.
Yeah.
Let's get back to the social impact piece, because I am very curious of how these can actually do good in the world. So can you share a little bit about what you've learned with some creative projects there?
Sure. There's so many different things you can do with NFTs, and some people have chosen to either use, a percentage of their sales to go to this, or 100% of their sales to go to that. It's incredible. I think the point I want to highlight there is there are a lot of people promising a lot of things, and we've got to be really cautious and aware that some people are going to do some really cool things, and other people are going to do what they call rug pulling. There have been projects out there who've claimed after mint, they get all this money and they're like, deuces, right? And so the perk of everything being on the blockchain is that you are able to actually see what actually happens, which won't prevent people from doing bad things, but you are able to go back, and like we've worked with projects before where you can actually see where they're donating to, etc. I think the interesting thing about people like Gary Vee, who have an established brand, they know that if they F up, like, they have a big price to pay, because they have people watching them, and they're what they call doxed. These other brands who you may not know very well, haven't done a lot of stuff in the world yet that you know of, not saying that they're not legitimate. I would just say be cautious of it, because track records don't usually lie. And we just need to pay really close attention to who's promising what, because anybody can do that. That's easy. Who's going to deliver them?
One point I want to make on that, and we talked about this when we were really fortunate to interview Tom Bilyeu, was the fact that, where all the money is going, it doesn't necessarily just have to go in your pockets. Like, if you own an NFT project that has any amount of success, you are now not only a brand, but you are a business. So how much are you reinvesting in the community? How much are you reinvesting in your marketing? How much are you reinvesting in a subsequent project? How much are you investing in a collaboration with someone who has the same kind of social impact that you want to have? And we just had, and I'll give you an example of an artist. She's an artist, a fantastic artist. We saw her on Instagram. I think she had 70 something thousand followers, and just a few on Twitter. And she was coming out with a project. And she was having kind of a good little streak of manually putting an NFT out a day, and they were really good. So we didn't know this, and I have no idea how we didn't know this, Heather, until our interview with her. But the proceeds were going to go to a scholarship to her artist academy. So when we bought one as NFTs for Newbies, we bought one literally from one of our guests because it was that awesome. We got to actually sponsor someone or select someone to take part in the scholarship. Now, this artist academy of hers, and this isn't quote unquote social impact, but it's business. This artist, up and coming artist, is now going to get mentored by Andrea, the project creator, on marketing and sales in physical art, which is her specialty, which is a very, very big setback or, stressor for people coming up as creatives trying to learn the business side of things. So that's huge for us. That felt amazing. So that was awesome. And we love people who are doing things like that.
That's very cool. So we've talked a lot about the application and in some cases, practical use cases. I want to talk about the technology stack. If someone actually wants to get involved with this, how do they mint it? What's OpenSea? What's a wallet? Like the technology behind making this happen. I don't know which of you is stronger in this, so I don't know who to ask, but can you walk me through the basics?
We could probably piggyback, but
Okay.
I think the most important starting point is to understand blockchains and to pick which blockchain that you want to work with. And there are so many, it's insane. And as a newbie, I was like, oh, there's one blockchain. Nope, there's a ton of blockchains. So I think getting versed in that is important. I think one of the main ones you'll hear about is Ethereum blockchain. There's some alternatives to those as well, but I would say pick out the blockchain, know why you're using that one. And as far as minting, I alluded to.
Let's if you can make a recommendation, what do you think is the right one to where should people start?
I'm personally an Ethereum gal. They get a lot of crap because they use a lot of energy, and it's a little bit more expensive to get into. There are some advances that are going to be taking place fairly soon with the second version of it, and there are a sister blockchain to it called Polygon. But that's personally the one I use, and I believe Rich, that's what you're.
Yeah, I want to say one thing about blockchain really quick. This is important in my opinion for people to understand. So Heather, on one of our episodes, just had this great analogy of like what a blockchain really is, and a blockchain is a ledger. She kind of simulated like an older woman or a grandma who keeps track of everything in her big green ledger. Like that's exactly what a blockchain is.
She sees everything.
Yeah, she sees everything. Now the blockchain exists because again, this movement against like middlemen, this is a string of computers around the world, people involved on always verifying and updating this blockchain to make sure it's completely accurate, that you are the one of one, that all the records are clean at all times. In order for that to happen, it costs a lot of energy and it also costs money. That money is called gas fees. So when you go to buy an NFT, even though it says 1 Ethereum, and let's just call Ethereum 2900 right now, it's not just that, it's gas fees. There's all these people competing to solve this algorithm or whatever it is to make sure it's verified. So there's people always competing to kind of verify that transaction, and that's where the gas fee is. And it's cheaper in some places and not cheaper in other places. But, I would say the three main elements that you need to take into consideration are security, how fast it is, and I can't even believe I forgot the other one, but those are probably the main two. So if you want to be faster, you're probably going to get less security. If you want to be slower and pay a little bit more gas, then you're probably going to be a little bit more secure. So that's really important to know. And just think of the grandma who has her ledger. Like that's what a blockchain is. That's why it exists.
Yeah.
So you pick, let's say we pick Ethereum, right? People, obviously it's very popular at the moment. Now what? Where do you go? What do you do?
Not financial advice at all. But I would personally get a wallet, a MetaMask, a wallet that works with that blockchain. MetaMask works with the Ethereum blockchain. I would.
Let's back up for a second, or just some detail on a wallet, right? Because
Yes.
we're sticking with the newbies theme here.
Yes.
The wallet allows you to actually take your cash, your let's say US dollars, and convert it to Ethereum. Is that right?
You can do that in Coinbase.
Or store it,
Coinbase,
actually.
Yeah, Coinbase does have a wallet. I know it's super confusing, and I promise, like when you first start off, it's like you want to ram your head against the wall, but then it just starts making sense. So you have to convert your fiat dollars into Ethereum, and so you usually do that. I do it in a place called Coinbase, and you're able to make that transaction there, and then transfer Coinbase money into your wallet, and then your wallet you can start purchasing NFTs. So fiat dollars. This is me, Coinbase, and then into MetaMask.
Yep.
There are some fees that are set up in that. It's kind of messy. But the reason I'm saying to follow that process, well, you have to be able to sell something. But for me personally, not financial advice, I would want to buy my first NFT before I ever created one. I would only buy an NFT that I was willing to completely lose money on, go into it expecting that. It's a great attitude to have, and just go ahead and go through that process. I think that's the number one thing to do before you create one. So
we have
very good financial advice, Heather. Appreciate that. Go ahead,
Rick. We've made some YouTube videos that kind of walk you through some of these things, and we have some podcast episodes as well. So if you haven't checked it out, check it out. But we really break it down, but kind of show you on screen. So I want to make this point, and it's important, is everything she said is true, and you could buy from anywhere. You could buy. I use MoonPay. You could buy MoonPay, crypto from MoonPay, and then transfer it to your MetaMask wallet and all these things. But until you think about using, NFTs as a marketing arm of your business or anything like that, I do also very strongly believe that you need to be in it and just feel it and feel like how fast your heart races when you're clicking on something and like, did that go through? Did I just get, did someone just steal my money? All those things. But here's the other thing. It is convoluted, it is complicated, and it is exactly the reason a lot of people won't get involved, which is why we have the show to kind of try and simplify it. Now, that being said, Heather and I were talking about this the other day. The first iPhone you have didn't have Waze on it or Google Maps or get you from A to Z. You were probably still using MapQuest, right? So this is going to evolve. It's going to evolve to a place where you could buy literally probably from MetaMask, where you probably don't have to transfer from this wallet to that wallet. You will probably have to pay a lot less in gas fees as this blockchain technology evolves. I think it's going to get easier, but right now we wanted to be able to educate people on it, and that's kind of why we broke it down.
Yep.
Got it. Okay, so you go to Coinbase, you buy some Ethereum, you transfer it to your wallet, which is in MetaMask. Is that right?
Right.
If I'm just
Yep.
sticking with, what was the other thing you said? Use Rich Dog Moon or something?
MoonPay.
MoonPay. Okay.
Yeah, close.
Okay. You're ready to actually. You do a sample transaction. You buy something. You think somebody stole your money. Aaron the smuggler's got it, but whatever. That was cool. Let's see how this works. And now you actually say, I want to try to. I'm an artist. I think this would be a great way for me to maybe potentially try selling my art. How do you how do you do that? And especially, how do you take the offline piece? Do you have to do it, or does it have to originate online, or how does that whole process work?
So the simplest way is to go to a secondary marketplace to buy your NFT. Now, you'll hear the term minting. So projects who are just starting their projects, you can actually purchase their NFTs on their website, which requires you to connect that MetaMask wallet to their website, which is kind of scary because you don't know who Paul is, and Paul could be jacking your wallet and everything in it, where that's a scam conversation. For me personally, if it were my first time, I would want to go to a secondary market so I don't have to connect my wallet to any of these obscure websites, and just purchase an NFT that someone has already minted. Maybe it's traded hands a few times. Yeah. You can go on, of course, OpenSea is by far not the only secondary marketplace. It's just one of the most popular. You can go in and search by artist. There's lists of the most popular projects, etc. And I would just purchase one right there. You would connect your wallet to OpenSea and make the transaction right there.
Yep, it's the standard. So I think that is the safest way. And to the second part of your question, as far as like how now I believe I can do that. It's what Heather said earlier. You can create your own art and have it on your computer, and you could upload to OpenSea. You could do that one at a time. You pay gas once. Okay, so that's the good part. And after that, you could upload anytime you want, however you want. If you want a substantial project, 500, 5,000, 10,000 NFT project, number one, you need to know if the market even cares about what you got going on, just like business. You have to see if it's a good product market fit. Now, I am going to be very, very clear here. There is far more supply than there is demand for NFTs. Okay, for the exact reasons we mentioned earlier. People with not good intentions will go in, make tons of promises, and get your money and leave. People who have influence and are celebrities think they're gonna knock it out of the park, potentially with a project, and nothing happens. And then there's people who have the best of intentions and go all in, and they still don't make it. The majority of projects are going to fail. But if you think you want to do it, start slow, engage your existing community. You know, if you have a following, if you have a great network like you do, or something along those lines, then do that first. And here's the most important part of you entering the NFT game as a creator. You have to be ready to educate the people on what they need to do, exactly how we're doing here, or else they're going to be like, dude, hell no, what wallet, what the hell's MetaMask? Or you could send them to our show. But if you're not educating them, then it doesn't matter how much they support you, they're not going to get involved.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. Do people need to treat this, as you talked about before, you sort of instantly become a business and a brand? You can't just, I'm assuming you can't necessarily just upload something to OpenSea and assume there's enough built-in demand and you're done. Like, you need to then go out and market this thing, try to drum up some demand for it, right? And actually see if you can get somebody interested in buying it. Is that correct?
Yep.
Absolutely.
Can't get away from it.
and I mean, subtle, and maybe we could cover that in a subsequent one, but there's a lot of differences between the way we market in Web 2 and the way we market in Web 3, in which we could obviously clarify that as well. But it is not the same game. There's different applications, different methods, different everything.
Well, we are a few minutes over time. I did learn a lot, and I appreciate it. I think this is a great starting point for our community to understand what NFTs are, how to get involved, how to buy them, that I might be a smuggler, where you guys live. So I appreciate all of your time today.
So fun.
It's been great to go over everything in kind of a rapid fire environment. I know we have another a follow-up session, so we're going to gather some feedback from our community. So for those of you watching, if you have questions, let us know. We'll work it into the next show. And I'm also hoping that one or both of you will join us at our Propelify Innovation Festival in October, where actually we're having Gary Vee's co-founder in Flyfish Cup, David Rodolitz, speak about their NFT-based membership restaurant and what he sees as the future of hospitality. So lots happening in this space. I really appreciate you helping educate the Tech United community. Great to see you both. If we're in person, one of the things that we do a lot is high-fiving. We haven't been in person in a while, getting back into the game, but we do a virtual high five. Yeah, there you go. On the count of three, 1, 2, 3, boom. There it is. With enthusiasm. Great to see you. Hope to see you both very soon. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Aaron.
Bye-bye.